Can you get a free phone plan with unlimited calling, texting, and even some data in the United States? Yes, with TextNow you can, and it's even better than the last time I reviewed the service. But there are still some important negatives to the service that you should know about. First off, what is TextNow? TextNow is a phone service company with an app for free calling and texting over Wi-Fi that you can use on your phone, computer, or tablet in the US and Canada, which sounds like they're just another VoIP or voice over IP service like Google Voice or Text Free. But what makes TextNow different from those, and possibly a great deal, is that if you pay $4.99 to order their SIM card, you get access to talk, text, and limited data with no monthly payment using the T-Mobile network. That makes TextNow probably the cheapest mobile virtual network operator, or MVNO, on the T-Mobile network. We'll get into the differences between TextNow and a full MVNO like Metro, Mint, or Cricket shortly. But as a TextNow user for the last 4 years, let me explain how all this works. Let's start with the pros of the service. After signing up for an account, which was pretty simple, then spending $4.99 for the SIM, it really is free to talk and text over T-Mobile's network. I haven't paid another dime for that service for 4 years. Just make sure you have a carrier unlocked phone that's compatible with T-Mobile's network. If you're not sure about your phone's compatibility, you can use TextNow's IMEI checker to test, or contact support from your current carrier. Group messaging, picture and video messaging, and voice calls all worked pretty well. Plus, they even give you 1 gig of essential data to use on some specific apps like Apple Maps, Google Maps, Gmail, Outlook, and some others, also free. But no streaming podcasts, watching YouTube, or scrolling social media. Plus, they keep adding features that you probably already have on your current wireless plan, like voice notes, the ability to set the TextNow app as the default calling app, and better conversation search. For me, call quality varies depending on Wi-Fi strength or wireless signal, but in my experience, it's a little worse than my Mint Mobile line, but still very acceptable. But that's really it. TextNow does what they claim, and it works better than you would think for free, as long as you can handle some important restrictions, which I'll explain. But if this video has been helpful so far, please give it a like, and thank you for that. It's important to understand that TextNow is a voice over IP company first, and the nationwide T-Mobile service is still just an optional add-on. You can use TextNow for free over Wi-Fi or data without buying the SIM card, which might fit your use perfectly if you're always on Wi-Fi, or if you're just using TextNow for a second line and you already have a wireless plan with data. But if you want to treat your TextNow service like a traditional wireless plan, you have to buy the SIM. Once you do that, TextNow mostly operates like other MVNOs like Mint Mobile or Cricket Wireless, who use one of the big 3 carriers' networks to operate. But at its heart, TextNow is still a VoIP company, and this can cause problems, like with verification codes. You know, the 2-factor authentication codes that banks, Google, and lots of other companies send to your phone? TextNow only allows your number to receive those codes if you pay for their ad-free Plus service or lock in your number. But just because you're paying for one of those services, that does not mean that your bank, Facebook, Google, WhatsApp, or any other service will send verification codes to your TextNow phone number. Now, why is that? Well, some companies simply don't like VoIP numbers like TextNow's. Obviously, you can get a VoIP number for free, and scammers, fraudsters, tricksters, even leprechauns, filthy leprechauns, often use these free semi-anonymous numbers to do terrible things. To put it simply, as this OpenAI help article states, VoIP numbers are often associated with higher instances of fraud or abuse. So don't purchase another service from TextNow to unlock verification codes without first confirming that the services you use will even accept VoIP numbers for verification. Some solutions to partially solve this problem are to choose to receive a phone call for verification instead of a text message, or use an authenticator app if the service allows that. If you're wondering what it means to lock in your number, TextNow recycles phone numbers that aren't regularly used, which means you need to use your account to make a call or send a message every week or so, or you'll lose your number and have to choose a new one. This applies to the SIM as well. You still have to use it regularly, or you'll lose your number and have to order a new SIM, like I have. 4 times. At least you'll get emailed a heads up before this happens, so you can quickly place a call or send a text. As an occasional user, I just forgot to do that 4 times, but that's on me. But you can avoid all that by paying to lock in your number in the app for the insane price of $1.99 every week. Seriously, I confirmed this and a few other questions with customer support. At least this also gives you the ability to receive verification codes too, but still, $8 a month for unlimited voice and text, plus a gig of data for a few apps? Yikes. Something to keep in mind though, if you transfer or port your current wireless number from AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro, etc., your number is basically locked in automatically. Plus, you should be able to continue to receive verification codes since you ported a traditional wireless phone number. Another con is that calls and text can only be placed through the TextNow app. You'll need to give TextNow a number of permissions to handle calls and texts like your default apps if you want it to be your primary primary line, which means your default dialer and message app will sadly no longer function. The exception is for iPhones. You can still use iMessage and FaceTime, but only with your Apple ID email address, not your TextNow number. Also, other iPhone users cannot iMessage or FaceTime you using your TextNow number. They will have to use your Apple ID email address. Now, why do you have to use the TextNow app? So that TextNow can serve you a lot of ads. I'm not complaining, it's a free service, so of course they need to make money somewhere, but just know your TextNow experience will be full of ads unless you pay for a subscription that removes them. By the way, the ad-free plus service that is offered to me in the app, which removes ads and gives you more of the features of a regular MVNO like Mint Mobile, is an outrageous $6.99 a week, or $28 a month. You can get a real non-VoIP unlimited plan from US Mobile for less than that, which is why with TextNow's current prices at the time of recording, I would not pay for a subscription or anything else they're selling besides the SIM card, unless you really just need data for a specific day. 2 gigs of data for $4.99 is not terrible for a one-day fee if you're going on a trip, for example, and you need to have data for more than just those essential apps. But the month pass is way overpriced in my opinion. $39.99 for 10 gigs of data? I mean, yes, it's just a month and you're not paying for a multi-month or annual plan, but still, there are much better options. MVNOs like Tello, US Mobile, or Mint Mobile, for example. All of these plans are more affordable than the 10 gig TextNow plan, and Tello's is even cheaper than paying just to lock in your number. Plus, none of those carriers will prevent you from receiving verification codes, recycle your number, or force you to use their own ad-filled app for calling and texting. Now, if you're thinking the whole point of TextNow is that it's free, fair enough. But there are alternatives in that space too. A few final things. You cannot order a TextNow SIM card in Canada, but you can use the service over Wi-Fi, and if you activate a SIM card in the US, you can roam for free in Canada. Otherwise, international calling doesn't look too hard, but you do have to pay for international credits. One last thing that bugs me. TextNow advertises their data passes as unlimited, which is technically true, but not practically true. You really only get 10 gigs, 2 gigs, or 300 megs of high-speed data at 4G or 5G speeds, affectionately referred to as 2G speeds. So is TextNow's T-Mobile SIM card a good deal? Mostly, and I don't know another service that works as well for free, except maybe Helium Mobile, which I'll be testing out next, and I'll leave that video right here. Just keep in mind that TextNow does have downsides, especially if you're an iPhone user that has to have iMessage and FaceTime. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and feel free to comment with any questions you might have, and I will answer them perfectly, hopefully.